everyone, to another episode of Pivot and Prosper. I'm your host, Joe Nahay with LFG Business Group. Today, I have the great joy of introducing Kathleen VanDervort from Austin, Texas, the great state of Texas. I love it being in Dallas myself here. She's a marketing leader with 17 plus years of experience growing brands for industry-leading companies, and she's recognized for navigating ambiguity and directing brand marketing strategy that achieves efficiency, loyalty, and sales. Kathleen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me here today and share a little bit more about you.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, just like many of these chats here, a lot of the great discussion back and forth always starts before I press the record button. So let's kind of catch everyone up here about you. Tell me, and everyone that's listening as well, about your current role, what problem your business solves, and ultimately what makes you unique as you've created this as a solution.
Sure. So thank you again for having me. I am a fractional marketing consultant. I have a company called Label Free Marketing. The reason I did that is because I feel like in my whole life, everyone is trying to peg people in different ways. So you really strip away the labels and get you the real essence of the person and the problem that we're trying to solve. Society wants to create these labels from infancy. You're an athlete. This person's going to be a reader. This person's shy. We're already categorizing people. And even in your career, now I get to, well, what's your specialty? Are you a performance marketer? Are you a brander? Are you in analytics? But really, my whole life, I have valued myself as a full board generalist, where I'm strong and powerful in all areas. And if there is something I'm not aware of, I will find that resource for you. And so that's where I'm able to lean in for my customers, for my clients, is I often find they tend to sway one way or the other. If they're too analytical, I get them more thinking about like, what's the emotion behind this? If they're too much into the creative side, I help them. Let's teaching them how to fish. How do we analyze this? Why is the impact of the results so that you can keep doing more of this creativity? So I really love to marry the art with the data, bring my experience and success from such large companies working at Google and Amazon, as well as agencies, as well as then on the CPG and restaurant side at E&J Gallo Winery, L'Oreal, and most recently was head of marketing for Torchy's Tacos, which is a 120-minute QSR restaurant. You know Torchy's.
I ate there on Wednesday. Very cool. I love it. Well, yeah, definitely, industry agnostic and understanding all the different realms, right? Question for you. Do you enjoy B2B over B2C over, all the different, are there any specific verticals where you're like,
It's a good question. So even though I have worked in both, I get the most fulfillment and can relate the most within B2C, specifically in the hospitality, wine, restaurant industry. I find that I love being able to really relate to the customer, and you're able to impact not only the 360 degree walls inside, but then how is that part of their lifestyle? How is the brand part of the lifestyle, making it really part of them from even when they're not part of that, but how to make each person's day just a little bit better. So for example, right now, some of the big clients I'm working on are multi-chain restaurants, some of them more sit down, more luxury, as well as doing some projects for some wineries as well.
Okay. Now, shoot, you're bringing you're really turning the gears in here with a lot of questions. The oil's moving in a good way, right? So in that realm, let me ask you this, do you prefer, or where do you see the best use of your time? Where companies it's a concept, let's say Torchy's Tacos, it's a Kathleen's taco stand, right? Something like that, right? Brand new concept. It's never been a brick and mortar store yet. Do you like working with brand new concepts where they're maybe putting a twist on something, or an established brand they've hit a plateau, they're looking to get to the next level, they need your assistance?
Good question. So I have a history of going to what has been called the bad boyfriend syndrome. In many cases, a negative. Whereas like there's the bad boy in high school, and I'm like, I can turn him around. I can make him the better guy. I'll make him the good guy. And sometimes, honestly, that has come back to bite me. My past 2 roles, I was laid off. Mainly because even though going into it, I knew that the companies were down year over year and there were going to be big challenges. But to me, that's what I love. I love that challenge, and I have no regrets on taking that on. either way. And so even when I'm working with clients right now, for example, one of them is very much down and hurting. They're an established company that's been around for a couple of decades. They're a lovely place, but they just need to kind of revitalize themselves and look at still keeping that brand essence. But how do you relate to the newest generations? It's different than what people in their 50s and 60s, what they look for in a restaurant and for that sit down experience versus what Gen Z is looking for. Not only in the how you interact with each other, but then also the aesthetics, the lighting, the noise level, how quickly you can get in and out. And so as someone who also, I can't help but utilize my MBA business hat on, I'm also thinking about, okay, what are the cogs on these different items? How do we make the menu more visible or visually appealing? How do we highlight certain items and what to help move? How do we make sure that the customer interaction is marketing really translate to all things? It's not just merchandising. It is what is your experience going in the front door. Your servers are marketing your business. Your other guests are marketing your business, whether you realize it or not. That is part of the society that you are creating.
Couldn't agree more. And how many times we work in all different industries, right? But especially the one you're talking about right here, where you go in and they go, well, we've been doing it this way for 10 years. Well, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
The last restaurants I worked at, I came in and they were so proud of it. Like, this is our local store marketing book. We just give this to every store. Joe, it was 83 pages. Whole book. How is that even digestible for the poor people and managers at the stores to actually go through and make actionable? So I reviewed through it, not only taking out pieces of it that were valuable, but then also through my own knowledge. And again, really taking where sometimes I provided the most value is what I learned from other industries and other sectors, as opposed to just recycling the same thing. So really finding out how I've made a bigger impact, for example, bringing in some of my wine knowledge, bringing in some of my CPG, L'Oreal knowledge, some of my luxury knowledge, again, of how you phrase things, how you do different products, and change this 83-page book into a 5-page actionable book that was really specific. And so people could really hone in on who they are in their community. If they're near SMU, near a college town, they're going to be speaking differently and highlighting differently and reaching out to different communities than they would be if they're in a more rural town, if they're a more urban area. Are you going to be offering catering differently? Are you going to be really connecting with the local football teams, or who are those big highlighters, and who are you bringing in for influencers? Who are you bringing in, for free? People love free food. If you could just have them there, people are just naturally posting, they're going to talk about you if they have a good experience. And you can do that lots of times.
I love it. I agree. It's funny. The magic number in my head too was thinking 5 pages, right? At that same number. And this goes right around the key factor too. I love speaking with clients too. Money hates confusion. Right? Can you imagine someone coming out, what do you stand for? What do you mean? Or why did you get started? But I got to read through a novel just to get cleaner and simpler.
Exact same thing. Yeah. Just go around to every single business near you. Well, what does that do? Why would they care? And also, is that the best use of your time and energy, as opposed to hitting a one-to-one? How do you hit more people, but feeling like that specific individual person difference, and that it's a custom message just to them, just to Joe?
I agree. The power of you, right? When someone reads the word you and what that means to you, when emotions are evoked with there and continue to be evoked with there.
Yeah.
So kind of pivoting from there, but also, I guess it's a good segue and kind of answered in this last little piece too. What would you say are some of the most common challenges you and your team encounter on a day-to-day basis?
The biggest ones I see are that people hire people that are like them, which makes a lot of sense. It's who you relate to. Those are the friends you naturally gravitate to, people who are like them. But those are oftentimes are going to only aid your business so far. And that's why I oftentimes come into businesses that are a little more established, that have really been stunted and really need kind of some clarity. Oftentimes it's cleaning out the dust. What are these random acts of marketing that are out there? How do you point back towards that North Star? So when you're hiring people that are just like you, oftentimes it's me leaning in saying, okay, you really are, again, like I said, on the creative side, but maybe you need more analytic vigor right here. So here's how I'm going to implement these processes. One of the clients I'm working on right now, it's again that people are thinking the same way. And so sometimes it's just forcing them to remember, okay, here's your North Star. There are all these different shiny objects we could play, but is it going to hit this goal? Is this meeting the goal? And continually referencing back to that has really helped.
Agreed. It's a good way to put it too. The North Star is a common one I hear as well too, and I agree with that. One I say is, are you thinking inside the box or thinking outside the box? There's 6 sides to a box. Which side of the box are you thinking outside of or inside of? If you hire, as you just said right there, if I hire 3 other people just like me, maybe they're all thinking out the same side of the box. Like, I need people to think out this side, this side, this side, this side,
I love that.
to be disruptive in the industry, right? How do I be disruptive when we're thinking all around?
Yeah, because your customers aren't like that. And it's exactly why I value coming into different industries as opposed to, for example, in the restaurant industry, just because that's what I'm working a lot with right now, that tends to hire people from other restaurants. And oftentimes it's not just restaurants, within each industry, they see that as a value, which there are. There are values and nuances you have to learn within each industry. But where I really see potential and breakthrough is breaking through these layers, because especially the younger generations, we don't see as we're going strictly to a restaurant. We are strictly going to a winery. We are strictly going to buy the CBG product. No, you are living this in your 360-degree life. That's why some of these newer restaurant concepts are doing so well. The experiential restaurant concepts, ones where you're also doing bocce ball, we're also socializing, where you can also bring your team there, where you can also just go on a date and hang out, where you can go and do your work. Sometimes I'll go and do work and have a coffee, and then later it changes to cocktails, and I have a cocktail while I'm doing work. Or not. No clients. I'm not having cocktails during work.
That's what time it is, right?
That time, right? Exactly. It's for the industry. It's research.
Yeah, it's not just a destination; it's an experience.
Exactly. And I'm like Irish. I'm very Irish. It's like water to me. It takes a lot. I'm not a cheap.
I bet brunch time is a good time. Then it's a fun time to see what we can put down.
I know exactly, guys. It's research.
Next question I have for you here as we continue moving forward. What are some of the key skills or bits of knowledge that are most important for success in this industry in the next few years?
I'm not going to mention AI because that's too easy and too buzzwordy. But yeah, that will play an area that I think it's the biggest impact is really the importance of people looking beyond just their industry again. It's not looking at just a label of what you think people are on the surface, but really dig into them. What's that in a different emotional core? Not all soccer moms are the exact same. As easy it is as it might seem on the outside to be able to quickly label that way. They have different needs, they have different experiences, they have different life experiences, why they all might be a soccer mom, for example. But they might value different pieces. So you can't treat them and speak to them all the same way. And people, they're going to get offended if you do, and they're going to remember that more. And the statistics show people remember more of a negative experience more than a positive experience. So you need to really reduce those. And so I really encourage everyone to, besides as valuable as those industry newsletters can be, listen to other podcasts that you wouldn't normally listen to. Get other newsletters you wouldn't normally subscribe to. Read different books. Really challenge your ways of thinking and encourage your team to do the same thing. One of the things I did in a previous role for my team is that I encouraged every week we brought in different marketing products or different marketing or messages or different things we saw that were so creative. I remember when Chewy's, one of my direct reports, brought in Chewy's, the pet food company, had sent her customized little painted portraits of her pets. Just for no reason, just a little surprise and delight. They sell dog food. Why are they sending you little painted portraits? I saw today that apparently in Korea, McDonald's is teaming up with the State Department to teach senior citizens how to use the kiosks. It's brilliant. I'm not sure if you saw that, Joe, but not only are you doing well for the community, you're helping empower a generation that can feel often overwhelmed by this. So it's similar to the Apple Store, how they have these educational series. They help people feel more confident. And ultimately, it's going to help you and your brand, because now they know how to navigate it, even if they do know how to go to other brands now, too. It's not like they're just learning how to do McDonald's kiosks. It's just a better thing to do for society. And again, you're making it not just about you. Everything should not just be about your margins, your numbers. What are you doing for others? Because I do believe it will come back to age. And that's how we should be thinking in the future.
I agree. I agree. The steps that we take now, I mean, I think our audience, yes, is there's going to be different generational shifts, et cetera, moving forward. But I mean, still, there's a vast audience too, where there's. I'm going to be one where we're trying to keep up with technology,
Yeah.
Moving forward, right? How can I help myself, but also help others to the point where we're all in the same realm of, okay, we get it. It makes sense. I know how to, whatever that call to action is, or move forward, or it's not intimidating, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
What would you say? And there's some good bits of advice there too that you had with your team. So I would say my question now is, what would you say is some outdated advice that either entrepreneurs or business leaders should stop following immediately? With the world of those gurus out there, there are 20-year-old gurus telling me how to make $1 billion a year. Okay, bud.
Yeah. I think, and this may work for some people, but for me, what I found is coming back to why I go to Label 3. My whole life, people kept saying, but what's your specialty? But what are you going to do? As I was going on to my own consulting business, you need to have one specific thing you need to do. And that's what you market. And yes, in some ways that can help, marketing wise and psychologically remembering that one piece that people like Kathleen, she does this. And that's your one thing. And I kept thinking, but that was not me. That was fighting against the grain for me. And in work, it's this thing where with people you want to label like, okay, this person, this does this social. This person is my analytics guru, things like that. And that's okay if there is a specialty you want to be, but I am not fulfilled by that. I am more fulfilled by seeing the holistic picture and leaning in on where those different pieces are. So that's my advice to people, is just being authentic with who you are and not apologizing to society. Whatever you really deem and you find really fulfilling, that is enough. You are enough. Think of like Ken in the Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, like, you are enough. And obviously it's not supposed to be about male empowerment, but that okay. Society saying that no, you need to pick one thing. I have value and I know I provide value across the board. And that's where I make the biggest impact when I'm in different companies, when I'm talking to my direct reports, by being that 360-degree honest self. And that's where you're going to be able to share those life experiences that really shape how you see the world and it's going to bring more authenticity to your customers.
Agreed. This reminds me too of, using a lot of the Socratic method with connecting with people too, saying, let them give them the tools to figure out what is the right path that they want to go down to purchase or whatever it may be. So that way they're like, this was my idea and someone didn't slam it down my throat. And it feels far more authentic in that manner of, wow, this does relate to me. And the call to action isn't this big jar of snake oil, right? Some great lead magnet or something that gets them involved more. And then, well, that's just where conversions just
and make sure they feel empowered, no matter what level. Because especially when you get to larger companies, you feel like a cog in the system. And I think that almost everyone at some point in their career feels like, oh, their boss is getting all the credit. And that's something that I really try to work on, is making sure that even if people aren't in the room, that my boss and others know this person did this. When they are in the room, letting these people do that. But then instead having very real, honest feedback with them as often as possible, what they're doing well, what they're not doing as well, and having these very brief, honest, one-to-one conversations. And that's hopefully how they know how they can also gain that trust with you. I never want people to be surprised. And that's something I feel like, I can always work on. Just keeping that honesty frank.
I get it. And this is where you talked a good bit about your background in psychology and what makes people tick, et cetera. I mean, there's never like the last page of the psychology book, like, yep, I get everyone now, right? It's constantly, it is, I don't want to call it a game, but it is a challenge for my mind. And I'm sure you too, of like, okay, well, if this makes these people tick, then I get what converts to this. And then a whole nother generation comes out with tech and you're like, oh boy, now I got to revamp my mind on this and that and yada, yada. And, but yeah, I think that, that psychology bit there kind of, referencing what everything you just said is the key piece of understanding folks and the challenge of what we can do as marketers to get more awareness and conversions out of them.
Now, are complex and embrace the beauty of that and the challenge of that.
Indeed, it is. It is a challenge, that's for sure. But in a good way. In a good way. We are all each our unique little star, right? If you will.
Yes.
also kind of segueing from there too, but same category, looking towards the future, not AI, where we talked about, authenticity and building that into brand recognition and such. What emerging trends do you believe will redefine the industry in the next decade, on top of everything you mentioned before?
Besides AI and all that,
Yep.
there's always going to be new channels. There's always going to be the next email, the next TikTok, the next channel. But it's getting. I think what's going to define the next generation is, in the next 10 years even, is looking at all these pieces between those interactions. It's not just when someone is on their phone. It's not just when someone happens to see a billboard. What are all those experiences in between? And how do you insert yourself, but not make it as a, whoa, look at me, look at my brand, but really it's about helping them at that time and make it as seamless as possible, so you're not even noticing that they are just in your visual. It's by putting out more content that's helpful to the person, more articles, whether it's people they're following that they really appreciate, and just genuinely being honest and speaking their truth. It's, again, trying to make things more seamless as opposed to shouting.
I couldn't agree more. I speak on the value of pushing out lots of content, but valuable content that's not shoving down someone's throat. I mean, we've gone from a day and age now where marketers, they make these super expensive, elaborate productions with ads and such like that, when people converting just the same are holding up an iPhone, no editing, and just walking down a sidewalk recording themselves.
Yeah.
It feels authentic. Doesn't feel like, oh man, this person spent $1 billion to create this ad, and now they have this budget. They're trying to slam it. What kind of crap are they trying to put in front of me now?
Yeah, I'm all
what
about
feels real.
Companies with huge budgets, and even at L'Oreal with these, and it was all about the aesthetics, and always keeping this luxury aesthetic, and how much even changed now to twist and no, it doesn't have to be these big deal things. It's people being raw and open and honest.
Yes. Raw is the right word.
I'm a huge fan of testing and learning, and not waiting till something is 100% perfect. If it's 80%, let's put it out there. Let's learn.
Yep.
People appreciate that, and they like that honesty. You might mess up, and that's okay, because it shows you're real and you're willing to be vulnerable in that aspect. And I love that you see that as well.
Yes. It's funny. I recently had a post I put up where I was just filming on like a rooftop doing some work before a conference, and I sneezed. And I was talking to my mentor, and I was like, I need to edit that out. And he's like, but this is real life. Like, people sneeze. Leave it in. If anyone might say like, this happens to me too, or something along those lines, or whatever. Or cars. Or like a car's honking in the background or something. Like, this is real life. This isn't an edited perception. This is real life.
It's funnier. It's more relatable. Also, it's going to save you time instead of going back and editing all these types of things and making sure everything looks perfect. If anything, it's a worse perception than if you go somewhere and everything's complete. You look on the menu or things like that, or the commercials, everything's pristine. And then what's worse is then you open your hamburger or whatnot, and the wrapper, and it just smushed and doesn't look at all like it's presenting. That's a worst experience. Better to present how it actually is and be honest. Like years ago, I feel like Domino's was one of the earlier players in this, when they were honest and showed the feedback sessions. Was it 15 years ago, about how their pizza tasted like cardboard, and they were just owning it. Like, our pizza sucked back then. So here's all these people talking about how much it sucks. So we're gonna
let's not try to sugarcoat it. Let's just that's what people are talking about. We know you're talking about it. I get it.
Exactly. Own the narrative. Own your what's not good about you.
Yes.
Say, like, either you can change it, or you're not going to change it, or here's why we like having this issue with us. Or we're trying to change it. It may take a while, but here's what we're doing and working on.
I couldn't agree more. Very, very powerful in that realm. And even funny now that I think about it, when I was playing a bunch of reels that I put up, and one of them was the sneeze one, right? Yeah. And I had 4 people in the room, and I was playing it. This is a video. Yeah. And everyone in the room said, "Bless you." Like, as if it actually happened live.
Yes!
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. It was funny, but it was like, okay, it was one of those like aha moments. Like, holy crap, this is.
And that's okay. And I feel like that was one of the few good things that came out of that pandemic, is we have a little bit more liberty to speak like that. Before we got on the camera, I usually will fuzz my background screen because I share my office with my 2-year-old son's nursery. And I was like, oh, shoot, I can't get the blur filter out. I was like, okay, do you want? I'm just going to own it. Yes, I share my office
Own it.
with a 2-year-old.
Yes.
He was
I
great.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, I got one big last question about here with as far as opportunities to young entrepreneurs as being a mentor. But before that, I'm a huge foodie. So I got one that's like grilling in my mind here. Obviously, I like Torchy's tacos. I like Velvet Taco. I could go on and on and on with those. What is there and at the world now, especially Austin, Dallas, like foodie city, right? There's mom and pops up, brick and mortar opening left and right. As many open, I see a lot close, and there's a lot missing. So let's just say you've got, I don't know, everyone from Shark Tank goes, Kathleen, we're going to give you a bajillion Google dollars, right? What concept do you have for a brick and mortar food store? Is there something you think is missing in the industry? Let's say Austin specific, right? Because the rest of the country could be different. Is there anything where you're like, ooh, they're missing out on X?
I like this throwing out. I did not prepare for this, but there's actually something that I've thought a lot about.
Okay.
I have 2 young kids, and I've moved around the country a lot for my job, for my career. And I'm very much kind of a city person and love, again, the foodie scene. And what I'm experiencing now in the weekends is you either have the choice to go to a kid-centered place, a Chuck E. Cheese or something like that, or something like, we won't name different names, but are much more kid-centered, and you get that type of food. Or you're going to go to a grown-up place where you get the really good foodie type food, but it's not very kid-friendly. I really want to genuinely marry the two and speak to those people, especially the people that are moving, the people who are just coming here, the people who are coming from the cities and are living in the suburbs for the first time. They're kind of navigating parenthood for the first time, and they miss a good quality draft beer. They miss the local beer places. They miss a good quality wine, not just like a token wine. They miss actual good foodie dishes and being able to go to a place where you can have those cozy meals and have those cozy influences. But then on the side, you can have like a little playground for your kids, whether indoor or outdoor, to be able to work with also in the Austin weather. That's my dream. And again, it's not just paying lip service like, oh, this is good quality food. No, it's actually good quality food. And you also have some good quality food that the kids will enjoy. That's, again, not just French fries and mac and cheese, which I see everywhere. What about like kids charcuterie? That's my favorite like last minute meal to give the kids. And it's cheese, like, string cheese and little easy lunch meats and crackers, just, but still kind of pseudo healthy. Veggie straws. But then we can actually have really good charcuterie platters. Like, I love charcuterie. I can eat that for every meal. And so that people feel like they can go there and they can have, like, it can be a beautiful, more adult aesthetic. It doesn't need to be bright and yelly and conservative, but the kids are going to have fun. They're going to be able to entertain themselves. You can watch them in the distance, keep safe. They're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it by also having good quality food and drink, and that you don't feel like you're missing out on the experience of people when you're in your 20s or 30s or younger.
Interesting. That's a great concept there. I'm seeing totally different realms come up and pop up, whether it be the big one I've been seeing is like street food version of this cuisine, right? Like piata is street Italian quickness, if you will. And then there's the high, and there's all, oh my gosh, it keeps going on with Indian, this, that, all over. And there's no shortage of honey, when do we go for dinner? I got 7,000 options here. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have Foxtrot down by you?
We do. Yep.
Okay. And did they all close by you as well?
One. I think I know one in the Lakeline area.
Okay. They all closed up here, and I have my theory as to why they all closed. Now they're under a new investment. One thing I kept seeing too is, hey, it's like a Starbucks, and they have stuff in there, a lot of perishable items, a lot of items that go bad quickly. Not a ton of foot traffic, but foot traffic for people who are just getting a latte and then plugging in their laptop and working all day long, not buying anything else other than a $4 latte. Do you see any businesses like that where it's like, hey, you got to revamp your marketing development to get revenue generated? Otherwise, you're just going to have people mooching off of your cool patio and vibe, buying anything.
In my theoretical restaurant brewery, we would also be having The yoga groups can be hosted there. Moms groups can be hosted there so that you're utilizing that space that you're paying for throughout the day. So moms groups can meet there and have their kids. You can have yoga at certain times and have mimosa flights afterward. You can have certain games being hosted there. You can do game nights. And that's how you're utilizing that space again throughout the day. And also having good add-ons, good sandwiches. Coffee places that I see do well here do coffee during the day and then start interacting, introducing alcohol beverages during the afternoon. But then they also have simple, relatively low margin foods, good sandwiches. You have to have breakfast tacos here. That's a rule.
Yep.
And they'll partner up with other restaurants like Taco Deli to deliver them too. So it's saving them. They don't have to worry about the upfront costs and things like that or staffing a kitchen. But they have partnerships in that way too. And then they can both advertise and both get their name out there as well.
Leveraging your assets. Yes, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, completely agreed. Okay. That's some good bits of knowledge there for all the Texans watching and listening here. They know what Taco Deli is. I've had my fair share of Taco Deli at multiple places. Okay, final question here. Suppose you're given the opportunity to mentor a young entrepreneur. You can give them one piece of advice as they grow in their career. What is it?
You do you. Again, your parents are probably telling you from a young age what you should be doing. Society's going to be telling you what you be doing. You only have so many lives to live, and you're going to be doing this job so many hours a day. So do what's passionate for you. And I know that's easier said than done a lot of times. And sometimes you might have to pick up side jobs to be able to do it. But it's the phrase, if you live your passion, you're never actually working a day in your life. And I genuinely, for example, enjoy working. My husband does not understand it. I love doing it. Yes, there are stressful times and things where you have to do menial tasks, but overall, I love it. And that's my hobby. Work is my hobby. I really enjoy it. I love being able to come up and be able to help different people transform their concepts. What especially the most fulfilling thing is when either it's my direct reports or a client is able to see a strategy through or see a campaign through, or my direct reports are able to speak to something they hadn't spoken before and they see something they didn't think was possible before. That spark, that confidence, right? That's what's so exciting for me. And that's what gives me.
Amazing. I agree. I'm the same way in my career too. And it's funny. I made a couple posts on weekends where I say, I can't wait for Monday. That's the opposite of corporate life.
Yes, I'm the same way.
I can't wait for Monday to get in front of clients, to start talking strategy, to start talking about the development, start talking about where their Trello board is at. I can't wait for Monday. I love what I do.
I have all these ideas stored up and I'm fighting every urge to not send all these emails throughout the weekend because I don't want to scare people or set a precedent to my team. Oh, you need to be doing this. I'm like, no, I'll just hold off. But
couldn't agree more. That's right. Hey, when you enjoy what you do, it's not working, right? Yeah. I left my 9 to 5 to work 24/7, but that's okay because I enjoy it. Well, Kathleen, it has been great to chat with you, learn more about you and your business and what you offer. I'm sure we could talk for everything's bigger in Texas. We could probably talk 6 hours, making it a really big podcast, right? But I appreciate a fellow Texan chatting with me here today. Again, learning about you. I'll put a link below to your website and your LinkedIn for people to get a hold of you if need be. But hey, really appreciate your time. It's our most valuable asset in speaking with me. And thank you for sharing words of wisdom with us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe. And thank you to everyone else too.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye.